Dear guests, welcome back. Throughout the day, we've had eye-opening discussions on the future of education and how to better improve our systems for a more sustainable future. We've now come to the final panel of the day, and it's a special one because both the moderator and the panelists are school administrators of the Turkish Maarif Foundation. So we're in for an interesting discussion. Moderating the panel titled Leading Schools Toward Equity, the Role of Principals in Shaping Fair and Inclusive Education is the Vice Principal of the Maarif School in New Jersey, Ms. Khaldia Mustafa. And joining her are Dr. Zarfishan Adnan, the Principal of the International Maarif Schools in Islamabad, the Vice Principal of Maarif Schools of Cameroon, Dr. Nsaga Samuel Saiben. Also with us today is Mr. Naufal Neshi, the Vice Principal of International Maarif Schools of Tunisia, and last but not least, Ms. Lidra Meidani, the Vice Principal of the Maarif Tirana Campus, New York High School. Welcome to you all, and over to you, Ms. Mustafa.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is my honor and privilege to be here today with my esteemed colleagues and principals, vice principals, and leaders of schools. Today, we gather to address an important need in our educational landscape, leading our schools through true equity and inclusion. And our goal and mission today is to create environments in schools and classrooms where every student, regardless of their background, learning style, family status, feels welcomed and empowered to succeed, inshallah. As principals and leaders of the schools, we must work diligently to cultivate our school environments to be equitable and accessible to all learners, honoring the diverse backgrounds and needs. This commitment should extend to the classroom, where staff are trained to demonstrate compassion and empathy, ensuring that every student is provided with equal opportunities to learn and succeed. School leaders must set that tone for inclusivity by prioritizing equity and policies in their everyday practices. Please allow me again to introduce my esteemed colleagues and principals who will be presenting speeches that hopefully will help everyone learn and understand the important need of this inclusive and equal environments and creating equitable and sustainable futures for our students and our schools. This is a goal that is very crucial. And we will have collaborative efforts together in the future as well, and learning together how to make our schools equal and accessible to every student. Our first speaker is Dr. Zarfishan Adnan, who is a principal of the school in International Maarif School, Pakistan. She is an IBPYP head of school as well, and is a passionate climate activist dedicated to promoting global citizenship and fostering international mindedness. She will be speaking right now about the inclusive practices in the schools by integrating culture, curriculum, and innovative practices. We welcome you, Dr. Zarfishan. You will have your 10 minutes, inshallah, to present your speech. Jazakumullah khair again. You may begin.
Good evening from Pakistan. As educators, we know the pivotal role a principal play in building successful inclusive schools. Through my journey, I have come to realize that the principal active participation is not just important, it's a cornerstone for driving meaningful change and improving services. Speaking from my personal experience, inclusion is not a task, but a continuous process. It's a journey, a never-ending search for better ways to respond to students' diversity. For me, inclusion is about learning how to live with differences and how to learn from differences, embrace them, and grow from them. Every year, we have added layers to our practices, and yet I have discovered that there is always room for improvement. Inclusion is more than a concept. It's about breaking down the barriers and ensuring the presence, participation, and achievement of all students. This belief is what has shaped my leadership approach. And today, I'm here to share how we turn this vision into reality in our school. An approach that can be implemented in your schools as well. The journey begins with building a supportive school culture. Culture is a backbone of equity, and it is foundational to how fairness, inclusion, and overall school practices are implemented in schools. Learners should not have to adapt themselves according to the education system. In fact, its education system should adopt itself as per the learner's need. When the students do not feel welcome at school, they are less likely to learn, and this is everyone's loss. So, to create an inclusive culture, principal must take certain steps. And the first step is to set up an entire vision statement that is totally aligned with inclusion. So, a clear, centered equity vision as well as mission statement must prioritize fairness, inclusion, and the holistic development of all students. At my school, we work tirelessly to ensure that every stakeholder understood this vision and implement it in its truest sense. Then comes the policies. There are many policies which are associated with inclusion, but here I would like to discuss the most important one, that is anti-discrimination policy. We develop system to ensure fairness in admissions, grading, and discipline. Whenever any incident of discrimination occur, we address them swiftly, firmly, and appropriately. We implemented zero tolerance policy for all kind of discrimination and guided the learner how to deal with conflict resolution, which was highlighted and extensively covered in our discipline policy. As a result, it helped us in reducing the instances of discrimination, fostering a safe and supportive learning environment for my students. We implemented inclusive curriculum to reflect the diverse perspective and unique needs of the students. Students need a curriculum that is flexible, creative, and relevant to them. And this is the duty of the principal to ensure that the curriculum implemented in the classroom is totally aligned with learners' need. Equity audit becomes a regular practice, allowing us to assess and realign the distribution of resources and opportunities. The third key focus area, which I'd like to highlight here, is fostering inclusive practices with differentiated instruction and assessment at its core. Differentiated instruction became a useful strategy. We tailored lesson to suit the diverse needs and the interest of the students, allowing them to choose the learning medium that matched their strength and help them to achieve common objective. As a result, we have observed improved academic performance and more confident students in the classrooms. Assessment methods were diversified to ensure that every student had the opportunity to demonstrate their learning effectively. Every student, regardless of their background or their abilities, received an equal chance. In short, we have provided a complete support system to the students with diverse needs. It will be unfair if I do not talk about the most powerful tool, that is the learner's agency. We empowered the students to take the ownership of their learning by offering them voice and choice, encouraging their active participation in the learning process. They became the co-constructor of their learning goals and the success criteria that helps them to define their own ways and strategies for learning. During this process, they help their peers if they require any support. Subsequently, students are more confident, independent, and they have the sense of purpose Also, they were making learning more meaningful. Club activities and the events like Bake Sale and the Cultural Festival provided students with a platform to showcase their unique skills and interests. While assigning responsibilities to the learner, we always look into the consideration their personal strength to ensure that they should have the sense of achievement, responsibility, as well as ownership. Equity and fair culture will not be possible without inclusive spaces. We have an advantage of spacious classrooms with flexible seating arrangement, interactive learning stations, and access to digital tools to support the diverse need of the learners. And the choice of setting is given to students to foster autonomy, collaboration, and enabling students to select the arrangement that best suits their learning style, whether they prefer working independently, in pairs, or in groups. This inclusive setup promotes a sense of belonging and sense of ownership. It also enhances the engagement of all learners in the classroom. Dear colleagues, be mindful. Diversity is about acknowledging and celebrating differences, while inclusion is about embracing those differences, and they go side by side. Regular recognition of inclusive practices encourage a school-wide celebration of equity and diversity. We hosted Cultural Heritage Days and the Exchange Forum, where parents and students from diverse backgrounds shared their experience and promoting sense of belonging to the wider community. Another crucial aspect here I would like to highlight is the role of counselor. Counselors provide consistent socio-emotional support through regular check-ins and group discussions. These practices help identify and addresses emotional challenges, stressors, or anxieties that may hinder the learning process and the personal growth of the student. These regular interactions have provided a supportive environment where students feel heard and valued, encouraging open dialogue as well as building confidence in managing their emotions. Whenever we feel, we involve the parents in that process too. How can I forget the role of my teachers in inclusive schools? Teachers have the key to turn a vision into reality. How we prepare our teachers matters a lot. In our school, professional development became a non-negotiable priority. Teachers underwent professional development workshop on inclusive teaching method, such as which help them to transform the classroom into dynamic spaces of engagement. Teachers trained and they provided differentiated teaching approaches that cater to varying learning styles of the learners. And they became pro in having all kind of strategies that can be implemented in the classroom. Here I would like to salute my teachers because they embrace those strategies exuberantly and the results are transformational, not for the students, but for the teachers, in fact, for the whole community.
Exactly.
I just wanted to wrap up by sharing this that every student, regardless of their background and their abilities, has been given an equal chance to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. Our school transformed into a community where inclusion was not just a policy, but a way of life. I shared this journey with you not as a blueprint, but as inspiration. What we have achieved in our school is possible in yours too. So, together as principal and educators, we have the power to create an environment where every child feels valued, supported, and empowered to succeed. So, let's work together to lead school towards equity and inclusion, a mission that can transform not just education, but the society itself. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Zarfishan, for that eloquent speech that you've just given on inclusive schools and culture, and the activities that you have implemented into your school are very impressive. And keeping, citizenship and equality in mind in your policies and your procedures and your staff development and culture is really impressive. And we thank you very much for that. beautiful speech that you have given. And now I'm going to move the floor to our second speaker, who is my brother, Mr. Nofal Nietzsche, Vice Principal of International Ma'arif Schools in Tunisia. He will be speaking about leading schools towards equity and inclusive environments through various practices that he and his team has implemented in Ma'arif Tunisia. Welcome, Brother Nofal.
Thank you. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, and fellow educators. It is both an honor and a privilege to address you today on a topic that lies at the very core of our professional responsibilities as leaders, which is leading schools to equality. Well, as deputy head of the International Ma'arif Schools of Tunisia, I've had the profound opportunity to witness the transformative power of education. In our school, we have taken deliberate steps to foster a culture of equity and inclusivity. And today, I would like to share how these principles are being translated into our practices. Equality in education is not just an ideal, it is a commitment to ensuring every student, regardless of their background, is given the opportunity to succeed. At International Ma'arif Schools of Tunisia, this principle is embedded in everything we do, from offering scholarships to supporting underprivileged students to adapting teaching methods for diverse learning needs. Equality is at the heart of our mission. In our school, equality means providing access to high quality education for all students while respecting their individual differences. Whether a student comes from a rural area or an urban setting, whether they excel academically or need extra support, our goal is to give every learner the tools they need to thrive. First and foremost, let me start with the role of school leaders. Well, as administrators and leaders at the International Ma'arif Schools of Tunisia, our role is pivotal and crucial. We are not just managers, we are leaders tasked with creating a vision of equality and turning it into reality. At our school, this vision has been shaped by our commitment to inclusivity and our belief in the transformative power of education. For example, we have implemented policies that ensure no student feels excluded. Our disciplinary measures are designed to be fair and restorative rather than punitive. We have also taken steps to foster a culture of respect where students and teachers alike feel valued and empowered. These initiatives reflect our belief that equality begins with leadership that is both visionary and compassionate. Now, it is important to note that teachers are the backbone of any educational institution. And at Ma'arif Tunisia, we invest heavily in their professional growth. We provide regular training sessions to help our teachers adopt inclusive pedagogies, such as differentiated instruction and student-centered learning techniques. Our teachers are encouraged to collaborate, share best practices, and support one another. For example, we support peer mentoring programs where experienced teachers guide their colleagues in implementing inclusive teaching strategies. This collaborative approach ensures that every teacher is equipped to meet diverse needs for our student body. In addition to all of that, at Ma'arif Tunisia, we firmly believe that students are the heart of the educational experience. To this end, we have created avenues for student engagement that go beyond academics. For instance, we have introduced student councils where representatives from different grades come together to discuss school policies and share their perspectives. Of course, this is a part of the Student Council program. This initiative not only empowers students, but also gives them a sense of ownership and responsibility. Additionally, we celebrate cultural diversity through events such as International Day and Cultural Day, where students showcase their traditions and learn about others. Such practices promote a sense of unity and inclusivity within our school community. Now, it is essential to emphasize that parents as well are key partners in our mission to create an equitable and inclusive school environment. At International Ma'arif Schools of Tunisia, we have implemented several initiatives to foster strong parent-school relationships. Regular parent-teacher meetings, workshops, and family engagement events are integral and fundamental to our approach. These interactions provide opportunities for parents to voice their concerns, share their insights, and actively participate in their children's education. By involving parents in decision-making processes, we strengthen the bond between home and school, creating a supportive and balanced network for our students. To bring everything into perspective, the practices at International Ma'arif Schools of Tunisia demonstrate that leading schools to equality is not just a vision, but a tangible reality. However, this journey is far from over. As we reflect on our successes, we must also look ahead and commit to continuous improvement. I urge each of you to join me in taking these principles to the next level. Prioritize equity in every decision and policy. Empower teachers to innovate and adopt inclusive strategies. Engage students as leaders and active participants in their education. Strengthen partnerships with parents to build a united school community. Together, we can ensure that International Ma'arif Schools of Tunisia and all other schools become models of equality and inclusion. By breaking down barriers, celebrating diversity, and fostering respect, we are not just shaping better schools, but building a better future for our society. Thank you.
MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair, Brother Nufal. That was very impressive address to the community. I would have to say that the focus point that I noticed most was including your parents into the mission of equality and keeping them informed and involved and fostering that inclusive environment and collaborative work together with parents, teachers, and families. This is a key to having inclusive schools and creating safe spaces for our students. Jazakallah khair again. Barakallah feek. We'll be moving now to our third esteemed colleague. I believe it is Sister Lidra Maidani, who is the Vice Principal of Ma'arif Tirana campus in New York High School. She will be speaking, I think, on video. I don't know if it's live right now, but it is her 10 minutes right now. So we will have Sister Lidra Maidani's speech right now, and she is speaking about creating supportive environments for teachers, students, and parents as well.
Organized by education specialists. The training offers a more practical and contemporary approach to teaching. I am saying with humor that those who work with me know that if it is for trainings, for specializations, for postgraduate courses, my answer will be yes, they must be training continuously. We guarantee the necessary infrastructure, make a distribution of schedules in order to lighten the load of each of our colleagues, simultaneously adapting to the needs of their personal facilities in these trainings. Being flexible and prepared for any unexpected that schoolwork offers remain one of the activities, a model school that best responds to the contemporary requirements in education. Personally, I never tire of saying that collaboration is the key word in teaching, but here I am not only talking about the cooperation of the leader with the teachers in the hierarchical plan. The leader assigns tasks and the teachers carry them out. Such relationships that remain only in the framework of legal obligation risk turning into formal statistics that fill institutional files. Although these are necessary, as the case may be, I want to talk today about another dimension of cooperation. The spirit of cooperation in the school guarantees the success of teamwork. Successful leaders are those who create good teams, a multifunctional mosaic starting from the personal values of each teacher. According to this model, a leader encourages the exchange of values between actors participating in education, students, parents, teachers. The strength of each link, in this case, becomes the strength of the school as a whole. It is understandable that direct work with students is an attribute of teachers. Plans for individual work with students can be compiled by teachers depending on the problems he sees during classwork. But the leader in this case coordinates the progress of these plans for a group of different subjects in the respective environments. It is true that for students with behavioral problems, the psychologist gives his opinion as a professional, but the manager creates the connecting bridges between the teachers and the psychologist for emotional problems of the child. The same relationships are created with parents as participants in education. Although in any case their interests do not go beyond grades, we must understand that our work is the best indicator. Our individualized work with students proves that the purpose of the school is not only grades, but also the well-being and the development of multiple intelligence of the child. In this context, our School for Successful Parenting in Marif Tirana campus, New York schools, for 7 years was a valuable asset in helping parents, students, and teachers. The leader plays the role of a buffer in the conflict that may arise between teachers and parents. He is the negotiator and relator of this relation. It is true that he does not take sides. The priority remains the interest of the child. The leader does not stand in the middle of this conflict to assign the culprit and the victim. Absolutely not. A visionary leader is one who resolves contradiction, clarifies misunderstanding, encourages cooperation, and guarantees a safe educational environment for students in all cases. The role of a leader is to promote contemporary teaching techniques, strategies, and approaches. One of the biggest challenges we face every day is precisely technology. Our students have already become completely addicted to it. According to the data provided by specialists in the field, the social isolation of young people has increased and their concentration in the classroom is the lowest. In this sense, our battle is not only about learning, but especially about managing the emotional intelligence of our students, where emotional problems originate. And apart from identifying them, we must also accept them. Although teachers at the same time should also integrate technology into teaching. Precisely in order to face these challenges, they, teachers, need to become part of national and international networks, in trainings, discussion working groups organized by education specialists. The training offers a more practical and contemporary approach to teaching. I am saying with humor that those who work with me know that if it is for trainings, for specializations, for postgraduate courses, my answer will be yes. They must be training continuously. We guarantee the necessary infrastructure, make a distribution of schedules in order to lighten the load of each of our colleagues, simultaneously adapting to the needs of their personal facilities in these trainings. Being flexible and prepared for any unexpected that schoolwork offers remain one of the key points In our work, flexibility is not absence of long-term platforms during the learning process, but personalization and occasional changes of these platforms depending on the situation or problems that arise. The role of a leader is to accept diversity and respect the human values that emerge through education. Education today is one of the fields that is changing at an extraordinary pace, questioning every rule that has worked so far. The students with whom we are every day are no longer those of 10 years ago. I even dare to say that this generation is different from their peers from 5 years ago. What used to be called normality at school, I mean our concept for discipline, today is part of violation of students' freedoms and rights. More and more, the culture of diversity is emphasized as an essential element of universal pedagogy. As a result, multiple communication and problem-solving techniques are required from us as teachers at school. Universal pedagogy sees each student as a unique, irrepeatable being with cognitive, mental, and emotional abilities different from any peer. When we talk about diversity at school, we must keep in mind that every young person has his own style and way of acquiring the knowledge and skills he gains. Thus, with the student aiming for Olympiads, we will work on additional material and do more advanced differentiated work in classroom. But the statement is even more important if we consider students with behavioral problems or students with learning problems, students with ADHD. The inclusive approach to school considers as primary task the guarantee of a learning process as efficient as possible for everyone. In this case, the idea of equal chances is the best solution. They are different from other children in school, but they should have the same opportunity in education. How to understand this paradox? They are equal to every other student in class, but they are not the same. Only in this way we can understand the idea of equity in education. A good manager emphasizes this diversity as one of the strengths of the institution he leads, without being afraid of prejudice, leaving aside stereotypes of any category. A leader knows that diversity is, after all, a real factor of the school today. Consequently, our plans and objectives must take this factor into account in the effort to create a supportive and inclusive environment for students. According to a philosopher of education, Edgar Morin, the treasure of humanity is its creative diversity, but the source of creativity is its unity, which best explains the concept of equity. In our mission as teachers, we recognize that our students are the product of this ever-changing age. Each of them is a unique being, but altogether they are our future, that we ourselves as parents, as teachers, as decision makers have educated them to become social beings. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Sister Lidra. That was a very impressive speech as well. And she was highlighting, I believe, the role of the leader in accepting diversity and looking for respect for human values that appear through education. It was, very impressive to hear her contemporary techniques and approaches and strategies that she's using in her school to create that inclusive and equal environment. Our next speaker now will be our dear brother, Dr. Musaga Samuel Seben, who is the principal and coordinator of education in Ma'arif, Cameroon, and we welcome him to his speech. Welcome, Dr. Samuel Seben.
Thank you very much. I'm very elated to partake in this insightful discussion on inclusive education, a very challenging topic within the post-colonial era. I want to talk on behalf of Marif Cameroon, of whom I belong. It's a wonderful school where we do every possible means to make sure that every learner finds himself he is included in the learning process. I'm going to be talking from different angles. First, what we, the leaders, do, or the principals do to ensure that there is inclusive education that is fair and that leads to sustainability. The first thing I want to say is that we ensure that our lesson plans are well done, taking into consideration the competence-based approach, making every student to belong, making them to participate in lessons, and we ensure that by the end of the lessons, all of them are included. We use multinational topics. We equally strive to be culturally inclusive, because in Cameroon we have children that are coming from different backgrounds. I want to insist that Cameroon has about 7 campuses. Yaoundé, we have Douala and Gaoundéré. So the principals really ensure that the lessons are carried on well. We equally have we have put in place PTA, that's Parents Teachers Association, in all the campuses. We make sure that there is continuity, there is follow-up between the school and the parents. We equally have different WhatsApp groups where we give detailed information to see that our children belong. In order to see how gifted the children are, we look at clubs, different clubs, to see their different performances. Remember that if we are teaching without making these children discover the competencies that are in them, then it means that the teaching process is problematic. So we put a lot of interest on that to do follow-up, and we have different class masters and mistresses. In all the classes, we have a teacher that follows up the children to see who actually needs help. At times we do refresher courses with the kids. At times on Saturdays, we come to school and we work with them to make sure that they are inclusive in the education. Permit me equally talk of our class sizes here in Cameroon. Our class sizes are unique. We don't have many children in the classroom, just to ensure that the teacher goes around using the kinesthetic method in teaching. Teaching is not just to stand on one position. You need to move around. You need to find out, are they writing the correct spellings? Are they following up the lessons? How can we help? And we make sure that teachers go through the books. They must read what the students write, and then help those actually who are in need. We equally do not accept violence. Violence is not acceptable in our school. The children must feel belonging. We must use a diction that is welcoming, a diction, the choice of words, that a child comes to school and he wants to come again to school. That impacting the children with knowledge calls for a lot of time taking in constructing whatever you're going to do in the classroom. Permit me talk about somebody who is looking at an approach that is very interesting. He's called Polo. He's saying that if we have to teach without constructing knowledge in the children, then there is a problem. That is why here in Marif, Cameroon, we make sure that it is participatory teaching learning. What do I mean by participatory teaching learning? It's interactive. The teacher cannot just be a monologue, talking all alone. In the past, we used to have the objective-based approach where the teacher will come and present everything and the students just copy. No, we say in order to include them, we must understand that the children have something in them. They carry something. There are moments in the classroom you learn from the children, because when you give them an opportunity to talk in your lesson, you guide them. And at the end of the day, you discover that you have actually constructed the society. Permit me talk about this technique which is very important in our school, that we always ensure that teachers go through the technique in teaching, this technique of participatory teaching. The technique helps us to make the children understand their cultural realities, their historical realities, where they come from. And at the end of the day, when they know this, they are able to fit themselves in the lesson. And as the lessons go through, by the end of the academic time, you discover that the children have really been impacted, and then they can impact the society. In our lessons, we equally look at aspects like brainstorming. You do not begin a lesson without doing brainstorming, because in brainstorming, you discover that the children have something to say and you know how to help them. I want to remind us that we are just facilitators. The principals have the role to let teachers know that they are facilitators, helping the children and guiding them into becoming responsible citizens. We have different methods like the aquarium method that we equally encourage. We have role play in the classroom. Permit me just talk about a teacher who comes to the class and he wants to teach English language, for example. He wants to teach on adjectives, and then the students are there. He wants to make it inclusive. He notices that there is one child who is fond of coming late to school, and his objective is to solve the problem so that that child stops coming late to school. What does he do? He will come to the class and ask this question to the children. This is the question that he will ask them. Have you ever experienced a problem of darkness? And there is one child who will tell the teacher, yes, I have experienced. The teacher will ask the question, how do you think this problem can be solved? How do you think this problem can be solved? Because the teacher wants to include the child in the learning process in order to transform the society. And the child can tell the teacher, I think that we can install street lights in our neighborhood. And the teacher will look at the child and say, that is good, excellent. Okay, I want all of you to write a letter to the city mayor and tell him to install street lights in the, let me say, quarter like Mokolo. By the end of the day, you see that you have not just taught alone, but you have included the children in the teaching process. And by so doing, you have impacted the society where you are. So, inclusive education in Marif, Cameroon is the order of the day. And we make sure that the learning process is fair and the equity is respected. Thank you very much.
Jazakallahu khairan. Thank you very much, Dr. Siben, for your excellent speech and focus on students. It seems like in your school you are very student-centered and supporting of your teachers in making sure that you have an inclusive environment for all types of learners. Thank you very much for that. Thank you all. Now I will be speaking a little bit myself concerning, creating that positive school culture. And how do we create a positive school culture? Building a culture starts with the values, instilling those values into your students and into your staff and teachers, of course. The teacher is the core of the learning process, and making sure that there is equity in the lesson planning, there is equity in the classroom, in the support of the teachers. And I would like to start actually by defining equity and inclusion. What is equity? Equity means providing each student with the specific resources and support that they need to succeed, and recognizing that this will vary among all students. Not all students learn in the same way. Like most of you have already eloquently stated, students learn in different ways. Their brains work in different ways. And how do we include them in every of the learning? How do we make sure that they are learning? Inclusion is about cultivating a school environment where every student feels that they belong, they feel respected, they feel fully integrated into the school as they walk into the building, as they go into their classrooms. And there is a core difference between equality and equity. While equity treats everyone the same, equity gives each student the individualized resources to thrive. So in equity, we have to understand the individual learning style of every student. And here in Ma'arif USA, we have implemented a special education program. We are working along with the district that we have our school based in Bloomfield, New Jersey, where students who we feel or teachers recognize are having learning issues or learning differences, where we include a child study team, which includes a psychologist, a learning specialist, a social worker who give an actual academic test as well as social emotional learning, because the social emotional learning of the student is core as well in making sure that they have equity in their learning and creating that school culture in your daily activities, in your programs, in your extracurricular activities. And here at Ma'arif, we do instill the core values of respect and honesty and humility, and creating those safe spaces for our students and our teachers. We like to provide safe spaces where students can freely express their identities and their experience, either through culture days or through actual learning in the classrooms, in English classes, in Islamic studies classes. Even in science and math, we integrate all of these values of equity and inclusion as our religion, Islam. Alhamdulillah, we are Muslims. We are in international schools, but our base is Islam, which teaches us to be fair and honest and just in every way. And the roles of principals and leaders of schools is to instill those values in your mission statements and in your core of your school, and encouraging our students and our leaders to treat each other with respect and diverse and love each other for whoever we are. And understanding how to teach every single student, again, goes back to the principals in creating those spaces for teachers through staff development, through either having consultants come into the school and talk to us. Here at Ma'arif, we've had several different people come in, a psychologist who comes and did workshops for our teachers. We as well have done trainings for our teachers, and we are able also to do some outside research, inshallah, to help our teachers and students. But again, I want to reiterate the importance of having those practical strategies to lead towards equity. And how do you do that? Action steps towards equity and inclusion include data-driven insight, using data to identify gaps in achievement and engagement, guiding our targeting support for our students who are maybe underserved. We need testing to understand as well those gaps and see where we need to strengthen those weaknesses. Again, staff training is and student-centric support, developing flexible learning as well. It doesn't, many of you have mentioned that learning styles are very different, and also teaching strategies must meet those needs. We have visual learners, audio learners, kinesthetic learners, and learners that need to maybe have more hands-on, maybe more one-on-one. And if I have time, I did have something where we can actually do accommodations and modifications for each student. What are modifications? They are actually allowing those students who have those learning differences to meet the learning goals. We have to create learning goals for each and every individual student in the classroom. And I think if we can focus a lot more on the individuals and not just on the material and the resources we want students to get, what are the main ingredients that we want taught in the classroom, the main concepts and ideas. And as long as somebody understands it in a way that works for them, it should work for us as a school and a teacher. Not everyone learns in the same way. And having those collaborative efforts for lasting change Here, again, we can't emphasize more the role of the leaders. The school leaders set the tone for the inclusivity by prioritizing equity in the policies in their everyday practice, in their discipline policies, in their attendance policies, in their educational policies in the classrooms as well, in English and math and science and all of the core subjects. And again, most importantly, many of you have mentioned family and community engagement, where we're having our PTOs as a part of our school, making them feel included in their children's. This is the main thing. So accommodations, I will go back to that because a lot of our schools maybe don't understand how to give those students the learning goals that they need. So, for example, whenever giving a test to your entire student body, but you have different learners, you can actually give different forms of tests. You can ask students to learn orally. You can ask students to write maybe instead of 5 paragraphs, 2 paragraphs, as long as the main concerns are being met in their writing. So I think we must maybe learn more about what kind of accommodations can be given to students who have learning disabilities. I personally don't like to call them disabilities. I would rather call them differences, as our brains learn differently. And I have seen many, many successful students who have been struggling in education through this IEP system, the individual education plan that we give to each of the students who are classified after following the child study team testing. So I think, this was a wonderful session that we have importantly included the goals and the vision of our principals of Ma'arif schools, and how we should engage our parents, engage our teachers, support our teachers, support our students for creating that inclusive and equal environments where students feel valued again and feel that they can succeed and they are empowered to succeed. We love our students very much, and our aim and goal of, I believe, all our schools is to create successful, young, civic-minded students who will go out into the real world and study in their universities and, give to society as much as they can. And that is really the major goal. So I think a final takeaway for me, and maybe each one of you can also give a final takeaway, is to build an equitable and inclusive school culture. We must commit to long-term strategies, collaboration with one another, and a shared vision. And I thank you all very much, and I hope that this session was beneficial to everyone. Jazakumullah khairan. And again, a final takeaway from each of my esteemed colleagues. Thank you.
Inclusive practices in detail. And it's really nice to hear that the global community of Marif is going in the right direction and contributing positively. As a principal, I just wanted to share with you a kind of a checklist or the indicator to be ensured that how successfully inclusion has been embedded in the system. So you just need to check that the students are actively participating in the classrooms, and teachers are developing their skills, and they are focusing on the abilities of the students, as well as they are celebrating diversity. So if there is a cross on any of the area, that principal must have to find out the reason. Actually, we have focused too much on the inclusive practices, but yes, there are some barriers to inclusion as well. And as a principal, I think we should focus on those barriers. And I'm sure that if you are keen to bring improvement in your system, you can do that. So that's just advice from my side. Thank you.
Excellent. Maybe Brother Nofo?
Yeah, so thank you again. So our final maybe conclusion, I would say that all of us, we have to become models of equality and inclusion. We need to break down barriers, we need to celebrate diversity, we need to foster respect, and we need to push our students to believe in that. We are not just shaping better schools, but we're building a better future for our society. Remember, we are teaching the builders of the future, our students, the builders of the future. So we should do that, and we should focus on them and their future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Sibel,
Yes, Dr. Siben, now it's your final takeaway, and then we will conclude.
Yes, thank you very much. As conclusion, I want to say that inclusive education is very important, and we just need to be patient as leaders in the schools, principals. We need to be patient because it's not a daily journey. It takes time, and then we have to collaborate with the teachers and work hand in glove with the parents and keep insisting to see how closer we get to the children. Because if we succeed in making this a beautiful journey, the end result will be remarkable. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
All right, a very informative session from our administrators across the world with the Turkish Matif Foundation. I thank each and every one of you that have given very important messages over the last hour and a half, and I want to take this opportunity to thank all of the administrators of the Matif Foundation, because the role that you play is what has a lasting impact on the students well beyond their time in school. It's what shapes their decisions in building a strong future for themselves. So thank you for all that you do. I really appreciate it.